Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up.
All that jam. A lighthearted look at the weekend jam bands.
Where we break down the jam scene's biggest stories,
Talk new bands.
upcoming tours,
And show reviews. A little laughing, some hot takes, and an always positive message for the community.
I guess let's jump in with the origin story. And I mean, I guess I have to ask about the name.
Yeah, the old psychedelic porn crumpets. Man, I have no idea about the name. It was sort of just ridiculous and outrageous, and we watched a lot of Mighty Boosh at the time. So I think we wanted a band where Noel Fielding would be part of it. He was definitely a massive influence. And then it was sort of like a uni project for like branding. Like I did graphic design, so that was something I could easily create a product around. And now it's become my life, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So it's just become full circle. Whatever's going on, kind of that's the ticket, I suppose now. But with the barn where I like was living at the time, yeah, like music wise, it started off as sort of just a jam project, I suppose. Like we'd just get together and everyone would hang out Friday, Saturday, even Sunday, much to the demise of our neighbours. Yeah, we had one bloke who was, I can't remember his name. I think his name was Steve, but yeah, he used to come around with a cornetto, like an ice cream, and it would be like 3 in the morning. I'd be like, okay, like we are sorry, but we were like 20 years old back then, so we didn't really consider them like music fans. We thought we were more important, which we definitely weren't. So
Right. What year was this?
man, that would have been like 2013, maybe 2014.
Okay. So good decade. You got a good decade between then and now.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was a long time ago.
Fantastic. All right, so um all right. When I listen to it, I hear all kinds of stuff. Let me ask you what you feel like the influences are, which shaped what you call the porn crumpets these days.
Man, it like from when it started to where it is now, I think it's always gonna change. But like originally, there was so much local music in Perth that just couldn't be ignored. Like obviously the big ones, Tame Impala and Pond, and then there was bands called the Red Engine Caves, and Hideous Sun Demon and the Love Junkies, and it was almost like there was a scene where you would go down to these cool little pop-up kind of bars or things that, like we played in a distillery one time, or we'd go down to our friends had like this art gallery kind of space that they turned into a music venue, and it had like a skate ramp in it. And then even the local skate crew, who were called Soggy Bones, they're still going, but they had like a half pipe and they used to put gigs on, backyard gigs. And it felt like sort of growing up in Perth at that moment, like that music was sort of the thing that people enjoyed. And I just remember being like, oh my God, like finally finding a bunch of other long haired yahoos who were just learning to play guitar or talking about pedals. And it was like for a long time after I'd left school and sort of was at uni, I was almost into like drum and bass and that kind of stuff where it was more like hands on. Oh, this boy, that was it. Just plugging away, like, yeah, passion away, making some tunes. But I suppose once you met like-minded people who were also into like the OCs and Brian Jonestown Massacre and a lot of American bands as well that would share like MP3s, you know what I mean? It was like literally someone came in with a USB, like, and they'd be like, "Oh, here you go," like, and so you'd get their catalog and you'd do it that way. Whereas now it's one link, and now I feel like I'm old enough to be able to say like back in my day, but yeah, that's pretty
Right.
funny.
Oh, I could turn around and say back in my day it was a cassette tape. You had
Yeah, yeah,
45
yeah.
minutes each side to show off what your favorite things were at the moment.
Yeah.
God help me. So what's the songwriting look like? Is it a collaborative thing? Do you guys write individually, bring stuff in?
Yeah, it's sort of. I suppose it's always been myself with the sort of ideas, and I have a little studio at home. You're on the other end of it, so you can't really see the desk, but there's like all bits and pieces here, and so I'll tend to sort of go to town in Ableton a lot of the time. Like it would be writing a song, and then I started getting used to putting these, like, I don't know, just build it and build it and build it, and almost see where I could go myself before I take it to everyone else. But when we did first start off, it was a lot of like, I didn't really know how to record, so I would go and say, here's a riff. And then a lot of the time you'd spend 8 hours and you come out with nothing. So it was just like, I remember being like, oh my God, like, that's not how it went, or this is not how it went. So I think I spent a lot more time focusing on how to try and get the idea right at home before showing people. So there's sort of like a stem, or at least some drums and bass and some vocals, and they're like, oh, sweet, now we can sort of expand on that with a bit more clarity rather than you're in a different key, and like now the tempo is all different too. So
Right. Very good. Very good. You guys, where do you get your inspiration for lyrics from?
lyrics, oh man, I have no idea. They did like a lot of it. I'm just wailing into a mic, and whatever kind of comes out first sticks. And I used to try and then write something different that sounded like it was on that kind of flow and move it. And now I sort of just embraced it. I've just sort of gone like, all right, if that's what's coming out my head, and having this automatic response to whatever the song is doing, it kind of works. It's like you're going backwards and forwards with something rather than having an idea. Because I think we're definitely a music band. It's not like I'll write a whole poem or whatever, or like a big bunch of lyrics and then try and put the music to it. It's almost this accompanying thing that, I mean, I'd rather not have lyrics. I'd rather not sing at all. Go like do a whole gig and just be fully with an hour or 2 hours or whatever of music. Like, so, but I suppose you can't do that if you want to kind of blend commercialism with it. But
Right. Yeah, that's interesting because we speak to a lot of bands, some who do instrumental. You know, Surprise Chef, they're from down in Australia there.
yeah, they're
They
great.
do a 70s groove thing and they're all instrumental. We talked to them the other week and they were saying the best part about being an all instrumental band is you don't have a singer to deal with.
Yeah.
But a lot of bands, they do bring up the commercial part. How do you bring bodies in without the lyrics for people to attach onto? That's
Yeah.
what holds attention for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's like a lot of why people are like, oh, like they try and get into Zappa now, and they're like, oh, I don't like his voice, or like, I don't like Hendrix's voice. You're like, he just did it. Like, he doesn't like listen to everything else going around it. I think as well, like, because I've never really enjoyed my vocals, but then you kind of have to do it, and it's like, man, I'd rather if I could sing like Aretha Franklin, I'd be like pumping it out, but it's not going to work. So I suppose you try and do what you can. And especially now, though, when I've got all this stuff where I can record reverb, delay, and make my voice sound like whatever, and you can make it. And you also don't have to, like, if you can do it live, amazing. But now we're at crossroads where people just are good in a studio and they sound nothing like what they do. So there's also that to try and stay away from. It's like theater and movies, isn't it? It's like music, and yeah, it's you're trying to be a theater performer, but you can't help but notice what's going on at the movies.
Right, right, exactly. How do you have all kinds of I hear all kinds of different stuff floating through. How do you balance experimentation while maintaining a cohesive sound?
That one, like, man, I'd say we're definitely within the realms of like less experimental compared to a bunch of bands. And there's always this formulaic thing which I love because it's the Beatles, Kinks, blah blah blah. You've got all these old school bands. That's like even Zeppelin or whatever. Like there's always a verse and there's a chorus or there's something catchy to kind of grasp onto. But then you go into, I suppose we're at a point where we can listen to everything. It's hard to be like nail it down to one thing. So I suppose what we're trying to do, or I'm trying to do, is find all those influences and put it into 3 or 4 minutes. And I think I sort of got around that mark because there was just a time where you could write 10 minutes of music. And I mean, it feels like it's going back there now. Whereas, say, 10 years ago, if you wrote anything over 4, you weren't going to get heard. But I think because you could argue like Spotify and all the streaming platforms are actually a great thing for that, because people stopped really paying attention to radio and they got their own version of what they wanted to hear again. So people who were creating 10 minutes of music are now back in that public eye, which was never going to happen before. You were sort of fed what you wanted to hear. So I think I loved that when we were first coming out, like his 10 minutes, his 20 minutes or whatever, and let's see how long we can go. And then I don't know, the more I wrote, the more I recorded, the more I realized I was no good. And then you go down that curve, don't you, of being like, shit, like, that's not how it should be. Like, and then but
Right.
trying to find a balance for it all. It's never, I don't know, you're never going to be able to, I don't think, because I enjoy too much. So.
Right. I feel like a lot of times the studio is an artifact. This is where the song existed at this moment. And I love bands that embrace that. But then you take it and you put it in the live setting, and as it lives on the road, it becomes, a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I would definitely, like, that is, I'd say we're two bands. There is the live band, and the way we perform music is completely different to what it sounds like on the record. Partly because the record was just like what I've made, and then we go and do drums. And so Rich and Chris and like the bass player, Billy, like only play it the first time once it's finished. Sometimes, like, or they add little bits as we're tinkering away. So like yesterday we were jamming some of the new songs off the new record, and then we were like, oh, we should extend this, or we should change that. And so the live set almost becomes like, here's what the song sounds like or what you know it, but then when we play it live, it's going to be completely different, hopefully like more enjoyable, because it's like got a bit more atmosphere to it. But then again, I should wait and then record what sounds good after the whole tour. But I don't know, it's like,
Right, the road testing. Yes, there's that thing. Do you write the songs, you run them for a year or two before you go into the studio and you know what it is, or do you capture that moment? I like the capturing the moment, because you can always go put out a live album on Bandcamp. I mean, how hard is that to upload a show and say, this is what it's become if you're, into it?
Yeah, I think that too. Like, and there's so many different ways of what it can be. Like, I suppose the studio is supposed to be, that's the best this song can ever sound, and it is going to sound. But then, like, I like going and watch old bands who's like, they change it and it's like completely different. Apart from sometimes I can't stand it when their vocalists are like singing different like phrases or whatever. Like, just do it like the record I want to sing. But I don't know. Like,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
There's something to be said. I've always likened, most music you want, like I went and saw you too. I wanted to hear Sunday Bloody Sunday like it was on the record. Of course I did, But then there's a whole nother thing, what they call jam bands in America, where people go and don't want to hear that. They want to hear something, completely different, which mostly lies, I guess, with the improvisation thing.
Yeah.
Right? How do you approach improvisation with your live shows?
Oh, man, like there's lots, like, so when we sort of do extend parts and we have a little gap, there'll be sort of like a time limit, I suppose, on where you go. And I'd say from the first tour or the first show of the tour to the last show of the tour, if we change it, there's parts that work and sound good. So towards the end of the tour, you're like switched on, and it's almost not as much improvisational anymore, because you're almost going, oh, well, I know that part's coming in this part, and you sort of cohesively go together. But then it's not, because it's not jotted down anywhere, is it still improvisational? I don't know. It's like, to be fully...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Fish does. If you listen to Fish, I have a YouTube channel that I'm part of, and it's all about Fish. 90% of it. We after every concert, we do recap shows 15 minutes after the encore, and listening to it that much, Fish have jams that they repeat over and over again. There are structures, they go into certain modes and things
Yeah.
over and over again, and they just stick them in different songs. So people are like, my God, they did 30-minute Tweezer. Well, they played Tweezer and then they did Jam A, Jam C, and Jam F,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to call them that. But people hate me for saying that.
Yeah.
You know, all right. So, but there's a lot of trust with improvisation, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for sure. For one, you hopefully the drummer is going to stick in the same key or the same time signature. Like he can't change. I've always thought the drummer is your backbone. If he goes off, you're all fucked. So it's like, yeah, like same can be said for the bass player. But then it's interesting if he changes key without everyone else knowing, then you go on. So I suppose you got to find like a pulse. Like if you're all on that pulse, like fair play, go wherever you can. But then it's like melodically, I kind of like the idea of if you know something, then you kind of go around on it. So you can keep the same structure or you can keep the same chord progression, and then try and fiddle bits and pieces. Like if it's a different guitar loop or someone does a harmony or something. But we know, I mean, like half our band is not trained in music. So if someone's like, modulate to the seventh, you're like, like, I have no idea where you're going, man.
Right. What does that mean?
I
So,
can hear it.
it's finding a balance between rehearsed elements and spontaneity.
Yeah, 100%. Which is like, I suppose if we were going into a studio or like, I suppose like the best time I think as well is when you're jamming with someone new. And so they've got all these weird quirks and techniques that they've gathered from listening to different music and learning bits and pieces and jam with other people. So when you do go into a room with someone, like, I haven't done it in a while because I've just been jamming and touring with Pawn Crumpets for so long, but I'm doing this other project with friend Alex, and that's like purely recording. But then me and my other friend Tom and Tyler, we went and just got a room and we're like, sweet, let's see what happens. And that was so refreshing because I felt like I was like 18, like 19 again, where you're like, fuck, like, that's right. Everyone's
This is why I do this.
Yeah, that's it. It was cool. And even just swapping instruments and being like, all right, like I got this little lick or something, so you just add something and then you're jumping on the drums before you know it and you're 6 beers deep. It's like, I think that is like, if you could record it as well, it depends. Do you want to leave it there or do you want to go and bring that back to a song? It's like, is it just enough for you guys to enjoy it? Which I think sometimes it is. Like, you don't need to kind of share it or release it. It's like, it's just purely there. It's that moment. And then it's sad though, sometimes.
You definitely have to record it though. You have to record everything. I mean, for me, I've always, people like, my ex-wife used to hate me because I'd listen to like rehearsals of bands. And she'd be like, what do you, I'm like, I'm trying to decipher what's going on. You listen to the rehearsal and you can hear like Dylan releases all that stuff. And you can hear how a song morphed over time, you know, the demos. And
maybe I should do that then. I've got an absolute, like sometimes, because I'll just go if I'm trying to work out a song and just loop it for like 20 minutes or whatever. And then you just like, here's all the little tinkery parts. And I listen back and go, oh, that works, this works, that works. But yeah. You can have it all.
Exactly. So the set list, do you change up the set list night to night? Do you have a core group of songs?
We have a core group of songs and we've sort of always relied on sort of older songs to fill the gap if something new isn't working. And they quickly get kicked out, and then we started to rely on the older songs, which I would get the likability for a fan. But also I think for new fans, when they find a song and say, there was one song, I think Bubblegum Infinity, which I think is a pop monstrosity, and I'm like sad I released it, but I don't know, people have got songs they're not too happy with, but it's like some people like that and others don't. So it's like, that's what I was feeling at the time. But it's like, I would rather do the heavy stuff and be like, that's where we're going. It's just like fuzz pedals and crash cymbals. And I think that's where it's heading now. So we're just picking the 6 songs from a record that I suppose like you get to know the audience and where they're heading just by like what they're interacting in. But then you forget about the people who are at the back listening, who might just be there because they want to appreciate it. But we're like, nah, like there's like 20 people crowd surfing, so we're going to release the crowd surfing record like forever. That's it. We're done with the violins. But
Yeah, the famously, I can't think of his name, the guy from the Flock of Seagulls. He still
yeah.
tours and kicks around, and he's pissed off that every night he has to play Iran. Dude, you wrote Iran, it's a hit song. Do you feel like there's an obligation for an artist to play something that they might not be into because that's what people are coming to see?
Yeah, I suppose that's the whole Radiohead creep thing as well, isn't it? Like they've just got sick of it. And I
Like
suppose
Breaks a Pocket by the Pretenders. She
yeah,
hates that
yeah.
song.
I can imagine you would get pretty sick of your songs after a while because you forget like you're playing it every night for years on end.
Mick Jagger and Satisfaction, 50 years, 60 years running, you know?
Yeah, that's it. I love the that little moniker of like the reason I got into music was because I wanted to do something different every day. But then you ended up becoming just as robotic as everyone else. You're like, oh my God, this is actually an office. It's like,
That's crazy. You mentioned earlier about you're a graphic artist. There's a visual aesthetic to your artwork when the albums and things like that. Is that you?
I used to do some of them, yeah. But now it's like I just realized I was awful at that, and there's so many better people that are suited for the job. So I'm like, all right, you got the tick. Like, go ahead, make this poster or do a shirt design or something. But I suppose like it's weird. It's got too big for me to be able to see what it is anymore. Does that make sense? It's like I think it was easier when it was just Perth and there was 100 people listening. And you're like, cool, I've got time to really create something now. But it's like you got to do fucking social media on this platform and that platform and keep being new. And it's like I just want to focus on music and that's my job. But for some reason, like in today's world, you got to be an influencer. You got to go tour fucking 400 days a year for anyone to sort of like get it. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of a lot.
It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of what you do makes 80% of your money, and 80% of what you do is just wasting 80% of your time.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Okay. I'm just going back to the 20% then. I'll go play golf.
Right. All right. So, how do you navigate the challenges and opportunities of a digital age as an independent band?
Well, this is the one where I suppose, like, if it wasn't for all the platforms, like, you wouldn't be able to be an independent band. So you have to sort of give it the tick for that. And we've gone 100% independent this year, where it's like we're doing everything ourselves. So it's like from putting the PR and doing the records and pressing them ourselves and putting on the tours. So it's like daunting, I suppose, because you're chucking all the fucking money into one thing and be like, here it is. But at the same time, I've always said, if you can't do it yourself, then that's probably a good indicator of you're not going to do it well if someone gives you a bunch of money, because there's more to lose. Like, I'd rather lose our money than some other labels that are like, now we own you for 15 years. It's like, and I felt that I wasn't writing the same music because it was almost comfortable. Does that make sense? It was sort of,
yeah. Complacency. I said that was the issue with Dead and Company over the past few years. And this year they changed one of the drummers out and they were a different band.
Yeah. It definitely feels like that. And if you know that some label is going to be like, here you go, here's money, and we'll take care of everything else, just write it. You're like, well, I don't know, there's nothing to really inspire you because you're just doing it as a job. So I've sort of gone back now and been like, if I don't write a record, I'm literally I'm going to go back to work and do something else. So it's like, I'm putting everything into it. And I think that's what I needed to write something good.
How much does a record company really offer an artist these days? There isn't like the promo and all that stuff anymore. It's basically they're a distributor who's
Yeah,
taking a bigger chunk than a distributor would.
yeah. And I know that some people get roped into some awful deals where they take their merch and their live shows and all that kind of jazz, but you're just sort of like, man, like, where are you? I know you get paid like handsomely from one big chunk of change,
Right.
but then you go and get taxed on that, and it's half already. So it's like,
Right.
yeah, you might as well just sort of put it out and be like, well, if we kind of put it back to if we sell like 100 records a month and say 100 T-shirts or whatever, we got dinner. Like so, and then you can do a couple of tours as well. Like I think going small like that,
Oh,
rather than being like, we
definitely.
need to sell 10,000 units so I can afford a Rolls Royce. Like fuck off. Like just go
Let's
slowly.
go get some cheeseburgers and a beer.
Yeah, that's it, man. Oh, noodles have never tasted better. I can afford peas now, so that's good.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Um, oh, I lost where I was. You. Well, let's continue with the business. You tour America. You were here. You're coming back. How
Yeah.
hard is that to be an Australian band coming to America?
At first, it was like terrifying, I suppose, because you were like, you've heard, yeah, absolute shockers of people be like, man, made us play at Denny's. Like, you're like, what the fuck's Denny's? Like, do you know what I mean? And, yeah. And so there's this part of you where like, oh, like, we're going to get rolled here and kind of go back home. But I think like we hit this perfect spot where the States have had this sort of same resurgence in psych rock music as Australia did at the exact same time, and they kind of just lent on each other. And you got like festivals like Desert Days and obviously Austin Psych Fest. You got like what was it, Shaky Knees Festival as well, doing some like really sick bands. And it's like a lot of guitar music's had this push again, whereas I'm in Australia. It's like if it's not one person with a I don't know like boombox or something. That seems to be the sort of thing where it's heading. Like you got less. I suppose it's still like experimental or whatever, but it's kind of formulaic and radio friendly, and that seems to be the sort of go-to.
As soon as the industry discovers something, that's the
Yeah,
end
it
of it
kills
usually.
it. Yeah.
But
So
the Summer of Love was destroyed before it was even over by the record
yeah,
company.
yeah, that's it. Man, I watched a hell good doco on that. That was like a festival in America, like in just at the end of the '60s, I think, or the '70s, and it was like deemed like the worst festival ever. I can't remember what it was called.
Altamont?
Yeah, what was
Al-
it?
Altamont?
Yeah. And
At the
they had
Altamont
like,
Speedway where the Rolling Stones played and the Hells Angels killed somebody? Yeah. Yeah. The
oh
Grateful
no,
Dead are the one the
man,
Grateful Dead suggested hiring the Hells Angels as security because all they wanted was beer.
yeah, wow, that's so hectic. There was like another one as well where I think it was like Sabbath were gonna play. They had like the band,
Oh,
and then it
really?
was all in like a field, and there was no water. There was like one toilet for like 40,000 people, and you're like, what the fuck? I liked the like intention though. It sounded like they were like everyone's gonna have the best time. And then apparently
Oh,
someone like killed a cow so they could eat food because there was like no food.
they went ritualistic.
Yeah, fucking mental. But I'm glad it's like so. Yeah, but I mean, the States has been something everyone aspires to. Do you know what I mean? Everyone say like, if you can crack America, you got a job. It's like there's
My first favorite band when I was 11 years old was AC/DC. And
yeah,
I wanted to move to Australia, and my mother was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
yeah. That's it,
It
man.
was the greatest ever. So let me ask you about King Gizzard. You guys are kind of there's a sort of kinship to the sound a little bit. They've become huge in America because Chris's
Yeah,
guitarists went to see them. I mean, what do you make of that? Do
I
you see
think
an opportunity there?
well, it's incredible. I think that for us is like the greatest inspiration you can get from the music that we make. Because I remember when they were first kicking, like they played at the barn I used to live in. They played at the tiny little literally they were playing in front of 50 people, and then they would do an Australia run, and they put on their festival, and then they started doing these. I mean, it must have been hard. They were like a 7-piece band doing America, probably playing to 200 people or whatever. And now they're doing 3 nights at Red Rocks, playing like the Hollywood Bowl and shit. You're like, what the fuck? That's like Tame as well. Tame played like down the road at some pub to like 12 people. Now they're like headlining Coachella.
Yeah.
You're like, it's insane. It's actually insane because you don't even feel like you're in that ballpark. But then you're like, man, we could be one album away from sort of heading in that sort of direction. But
I think it's all about, it goes to the influencer thing though. I mean, you know, if Trey says I'm going to see Gorilla Toss, or somebody gets a picture of him there, or going to see King Gizzard or whatever it is, then all of a sudden it's all over Twitter. And then people are like, oh yeah, I've been listening to King Gizzard for 10 years, you know?
Yeah. Man, I dig that they're always changing as well. I think that's their sort of strongest, like, viewership point. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. It's great. It's like they're always keeping a fan on their toes. And you do get, I don't know, some absolutely, like, weird fucking records where you're like, okay, like, well, I'll put that one on the shelf over here. But then you get something that's amazing as well. I'm still fucking trying to find out what they did in 2020. There was like 19 albums or some shit. So I'm just like, all right, let's slow down. Let's see where you're going.
How I spent my quarantine. We always ask people that. How did you spend your quarantine?
Trying to listen to King Gizzard and come up with some ideas. Yeah.
I found a lot of bands, they felt like being off the road, being forced off the road sucked. Financially, obviously, but it helped them get back to writing songs, to, you know, rehearsing, to talking to the band, or even taking off and stepping back for a month or two. Yeah. And, you know, doing something they hadn't done in forever, which was not playing, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was the best time I've ever had. I don't know. It was like one of those ones where I ended up getting married from it. Like, I was like, yeah, like, it's been a big old sort of change of lifestyle. And I remember when the pub first opened, I think that was the second best day of my life. I'll get beheaded if I say my wedding wasn't, but like, yeah, the second best day when that pub opened, man. Oh, the beer's coming out the tap, it's just golden nectar. I was like, this is fucking sick. So yeah, I was just, it was like you learn to live again. Do you know what I mean? Apart from like the obviously trauma
and you learned you didn't need to go and sit in a cubicle somewhere, or, you know, that there's this thing in America going on. I'm going to take a left turn, a right turn, a left turn. That real estate, everything's like, oh, there's all kinds of empty offices, we have to have people come back into the office. Well, no, you don't. For years we've all worked from home and it's fine. Sorry your real estate values crash, but I mean, why don't we move the homeless in there? There's an idea for you.
Okay.
Anyway, I totally went left, like I said.
We'll turn them into venues. Do that.
Yeah. What's so this tour? Tell me about the tour, when you're coming, when it starts, what you're hitting, if you know on the top of your head.
I know it's more like all the places we haven't been. So I think it's like San Diego. Just like, it's rather than the LA, New York, kind of Austin, it's a bit more of San Diego, Phoenix, and I don't even know where else we had. Des Moines. Is it Des Moines?
Places you've never been.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Let me ask you this. When you come to America, do you get out the travel guide and you're like, I'm going to San Diego, I want to see this. I'm going to Phoenix, I want to see this.
I did the first tour and then quickly realized that we have absolutely no time to see any of it. And my heart got so ruined from being like, man, Niagara Falls is like 2 minutes that way. Can we just stop, please? It's like, nah, you're fucking flying. Like, you missed it all. We've driven past every great, like, landmark in America at least 4 or 5 times. The only thing we stopped off at and had a very, like, quick period, you know the signs when you're driving up towards LA from, I think it's from either San Diego or to San Fran, and there's, like, the world's greatest shop or something. It's like a fireworks store. Yeah. And there's like signs for like 20, probably like 2,000 Ks. It's like, and it's the tiniest little hut. It's like a little tiny hut selling fireworks. I was like, that's pretty.
How do you pay for those signs?
Yeah, I think that's what we saw. But we bought some
Oh,
fireworks. That was good.
oh, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm with you. I always laugh. Like, I go out every year to Denver to see Fish play for 4 nights, and everybody's like, "We're gonna meet up. Let's have lunch. Do this." You get there and you realize you have like 10 minutes over 4 days to actually go do something with
Yeah, yeah,
someone. You know,
yeah. Oh, that's sick.
that's
Are they
well.
still
So,
touring? Are they?
right,
Fish.
when does the tour start?
September 22nd, I think, is our first show. Or is it? I think it is. Maybe.
Nice. I'll look it up. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. Are you? Is a new album coming on the way? Where are you with
Yeah.
that?
That has been sent off. Its vinyl is being pressed as we speak. I finished that up like basically when we got home. I've just sent off all the artwork, and I did just before we did this interview, been writing all the track by track and the album quote. You know, when you like I hadn't picked up a pen in years, so it's like, yeah,
Right.
that's it. I was like, oh, my fingers, what are they doing? But then I was like, oh, like I'll start typing it out. But I kind of like the idea of writing first. It just feels like you get
Right.
it's
My
hard.
daughters laugh at me because I write poetry on a typewriter. And they're like, why
That's
don't you use the computer? And I'm like, because the typewriter forces me to stop after a page. And I have to put
yeah,
another page in, and it makes me think for a second.
yeah, and yet also like you can't write as fast as you can type. So I feel like you might think about it a bit more.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's fantastic. Very good. I live on the East Coast. I won't see you this time. Hopefully,
Uh,
you will get to come back again. I'm in Maryland, which is I'm close to the nation's capital, the DC.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, sick. Well, I know we're coming back in. I think it's April or May of
Next
next
year.
year, and it'll be a bit bigger run in the major markets. And so, like, yeah, we'll catch up, grab a beer. You can.
Right.
I'll listen
I'll
to
have to
Fish.
throw a shirt up on stage. Maybe Trey will hold it up.
Yeah, man. I'll wear it.
Right?
I'll wear it.
It's fantastic. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go.